we're joined by political analyst Jackie Shandu. Jackie, appreciate your time this evening. No one saw this escalation, in fact, saw this attack coming, least of all the people of Israel. Talk to us, what's triggered it?
Well, good evening to you, Hugo, and good evening to the viewers of Newzroom Afrika. Well, I think the recent context of the current escalation dates back, let's say, to 1.5 years, where we saw Israel really deepening its operations, especially military raids in the West Bank. And in terms of the United Nations report, those raids are at a rate of 3 per day. So we've seen the West Bank as the epicenter of Israel-Palestine tensions in the past almost 2 years, with certain episodes resulting in the deaths of many Palestinians. We also understand that is also informed by the fact that the West Bank, in particular Jenin, is the capital, if you like, of the biggest base of Palestinian militants who are always driving certain programs to try and basically fight against obviously what they call occupation, which is the greatest context that dates back to 1948 with the establishment of the State of Israel and the dispossession of the land of the Palestinian land of the Palestinians. So that is the context, and basically that's what brings us here. And it has been going on year after year, decade after decade, with peaks and valleys. There have been moments of bit of sort of calm, and then there have been moments where we see just really a spate of operations. We've also seen this what the State of Israel calls counter-terrorism operations really escalating, especially in July. The month of July was quite a horrible one, one can say, especially for the people of Palestine, again, in the Gaza Strip.
So let's talk about the significance of the attacks on the Al-Aqsa Mosque, because it seems to be the key reason, or one of the key reasons, that's triggered this escalation.
Well, yes, and that has actually been confirmed by Hamas, which is the militant group that has claimed responsibility for this attack on southern Israel. They were very categoric that what we saw in the past few days, Jewish worshippers storming a very old, significant, symbolic mosque, place of worship for Muslims, and wanting to perform basically what is called Talmudic rituals in the Jewish religion, and the entire, not just Palestinian, but Arabic and Islamic world obviously criticized this and declared it as an act of open provocation. And they saw it also as something that basically underscores or highlights the fact that there can never be religious tolerance in the region based on this kind of basically attack. And this is quite something unusual. We would not ordinarily see, say, Hindus wanting to go and perform their rituals in a Christian church, because a Christian church is a place of worship reserved for Christians. So most definitely, the attack on the mosque, this very ancient mosque that is important to not just Palestinians but Muslims worldwide, was certainly a factor in what we saw in the early hours of this morning.
So let's talk about the timing, Jackie. I mean, we've obviously said that nobody was expecting it, not the Israelis, for sure, neither the rest of the world. But how significant is this timing at this particular time?
It's very significant. I mean, especially remembering that just yesterday, Israel was celebrating the 50-year anniversary of the 1973 Israel war, which was also very much significant, just as the Six-Day War in 1967 was prior to that. So it's interesting that it happens also at a time where those who are pro-Palestinian across the world have also been disturbed by the increasing normalization of ties, in particular between Saudi Arabia and Israel. So in a sense, the Arabic world, not in so many ways, have called out such a move, particularly on the part of Saudi Arabia, as a sellout move. And it's almost believable in a sense that in the region, probably Saudi Arabia is the greatest ally of the United States. And there had been a warning, by the way, not just from Hamas, not just from the government of Iran, but also from the Lebanese armed group, Hezbollah, that there would be consequences for any Arabic country that attempts to normalize its relations with Israel under the current situation of settler occupation and the current dispossession of the native people of Palestine. So indeed, I think those are the factors that sort of also inform what we saw today, which by many standards is quite unprecedented.
So what is the current state of the conflict, and how are both sides responding to the ongoing hostilities? I mean, what we picked up is that Hamas have fired 5,000 rockets. So clearly they are they mean serious business, I'd imagine.
No, absolutely. They are on the offensive like we've never seen them before. In terms of actual tallies, it's sad. I mean, Israel, Palestine, firstly reporting that nearly 200 people sort of killed by Israel retaliatory strikes. And Israel itself had reported that at least 100 of its own civilian population had been killed by the attacks, which obviously were conducted by Hamas. So that is the current state. Of course, the Prime Minister of Israel has come out and declared war, told in very, very inflammatory language that it's not an operation, it's not an escalation, it's a war. It's an all-out war, and even the defense minister going at length, even calling up all the reservists that are available. So it's a full-scale war, particularly on the part of Israel. One can only imagine what it would translate to, because also the history of this very long war has been very much disproportionate and catastrophic on the part of Palestinian lives. It's just been disproportionate in unimaginable sort of levels. So one can only hope that before we descend into really utter catastrophe, sense would have prevailed and pressure would have been put for complete cessation of these military operations.
So I'm pretty interested in knowing what the world is saying, what the international community is saying around this conflict that has only just begun. I mean, when we juxtapose that to the Russia Ukraine conflict, which has been raging for over a year, approaching two, if I'm not mistaken, is there appetite to stop wars?
Well, that's an interesting one, because we've seen how Russia has been condemned by the collective West throughout, from the start of that conflict up to this date. However, we've seen there's a different energy, attitude, and approach when it comes to the Palestine and Israel war or occupation. We've never seen the West, certainly not America, not Britain, Germany, France, just to name a few leading economies and major military and industrial powers in Western Europe and North America. We've never ever seen them condemn Israel, even on occasions when it has been clear that Israelis have just been totally brutal and have gone beyond what is necessary, even to ward off what it may characterize as threats or attempts at destabilization. But the reaction by the international community has been very much predictable. For example, Brazil has come and expressly condemned Israel for its war, occupational war, especially, and its activities on the West Bank. Russia has said, called for immediate ceasefire. America has been very inflammatory and very bold, as expected, in its support for Israel. The same we've seen from the Chancellor in Germany, basically pledging loyalty with Israel. We've seen the same even closer to Eastern Europe in Czech Republic. We've seen the same in the UK. It's the same old story. Condemnation of Palestine, characterization of any action by Palestinians as acts of terrorism, and Israel's right to self-defense being invoked. So there's no surprises. NATO has also issued a statement totally condemning Hamas and also throwing its weight behind Israel. The European Commission has done the same. And as I say, there's really no surprise at all, because it would not be going far to say that Israel has enjoyed almost unconditional support of the geopolitical West in all its actions, brutal, extra-legal, catastrophic actions against Palestinian civilians, and even doing things that are even beyond what we often see in situations of war. So no surprises in terms of how the world has reacted. It's, if you like, a global north and global south divide. It's former colonizers on the one end, and former colonies also, who also obviously can relate with what Palestinians are going to. So that's how we've seen the responses being sort of differing.
Jackie Shandu, political analyst, appreciate your time and packing those issues for us.